Marley from the Energy Boutique with your 2025 year ahead energy overview. So first of all, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. And also, thank you for the love and support that you've given me throughout the course of 2024. A little bit of a recap. 2024 was the year of 8, where major changes, major transformations, major death endings and closures were needed in our personal lives in order for new beginnings, new transformations to actually take place. That 8 vibration was all about power and control. And the major life lesson with that was, do you have power and control over your own damn self, over your energy, over your emotions, over your mental plane? We have been tested in some very serious ways, especially the light workers out there, because we're bringing the creator abilities online. We're going to need them for 2025 and in the years to come, because we are consciously creating the type of new realm, the type of new reality that, of course, is going to give the power back to the people. So we've all kind of been through it throughout the course of 2024, and I would love to tell you that 2025 is going to be a breeze. However, that would be a lie. And if you've been with me for any amount of time, you know that I do not sugarcoat things. We are moving into a 9 year. 9, of course, is the full circle energy that we have to bring full circle in order to move on and move forward. 9 is the accumulation of all of the particular life lessons 1 through 8 that we now have to put into practice. We have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And because this 9 energy is about endings and closures as we prepare to move into 2026, which is a vibration of 1, there's going to be a lot of tension, a lot of conflict, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief, because of course we are putting the old version of self behind us for good, and the old realm, the old reality that version of self had built and created. The new version of self is online. We are working very hard to continue to anchor, ground this new version of self in, and with this new version of self comes new wants, needs, and desires, comes new karmic chapters, and 1 energy, initiating energy, beginnings, are never fun or never easy as well. On one hand, we look forward to change. We look forward to progress. We look forward to a clean slate because, we're tired of the same old, same old. We're tired of the heaviness, the weight. But on the other hand, you get into that new beginning, you get into that clean slate. We've never been there before. And the one thing about humans is the uncertainty that we experience in new foreign territory sometimes puts us in a state of paralysis. So the way that I look at it is we're doing the cha-cha-cha through 2025, meaning we're cha-cha-chaing in a forward direction, taking a couple of steps forward. Then we stand in place. We kind of move all around, kind of take in the scene. And then we're going to realize, guess what? I'm not as prepared as I thought I was for this new beginning. I'm going to have to back my ass up. I'm going to have to revert, go back to the old to really convince myself that, again, change is absolutely necessary before I can actually start making the progress moving forward that, again, I'm not feeling quite prepared enough to make at this particular juncture. So there is going to be forward movement. There is going to be a lot of change. There is going to be a lot of progress. And then we're going to have to come back to the old to clean up, the mess in aisle 5, so to speak, that, again, we have to clean up before we can fully move on, because the last thing we want to do is get in a really good spot in our lives and then have the past come back and bite us in the ass, right? So we got a lot going on. Now, this 9 energy in astrology is, where we kind of start piecing things together to see the bigger, broader picture. So in that regard, in that respect, there's a very reflective type of intensity that comes with the vibration of 9, because we have to look back on how it is that we've even gotten here in order to really appreciate the things that we are bringing full circle. There is this, we're going to call it profound aha moment that kind of makes a little bit more meaning, more sense, more purpose to a lot of the struggle, a lot of the challenges that, of course, many of us have been going through. This is a time to bring closure, okay? So sometimes we just need to wrap things up in our physical realm. Sometimes it's an emotional closure that is needed. Sometimes it's a mental closure that is needed. And sometimes you need the closure in the mind, the body, the soul. We need to get in alignment. This year is going to be about refining, redefining, realigning, reflection, revisiting, revision in order for us to resolve and in order for us to, again, move on into a new chapter, a new cycle. So we're going to gain a lot of wisdom. We're going to be put in situations where, again, we're going to have to walk the walk and talk the talk, where we're going to have to operate from our higher selves. This is going to be, again, kind of wrapping up the vibration, the frequency of the year in 8 in which we just had in 2024, and prepare ourselves for the vibration of 1, the new beginnings, the new version of self, the new karmic chapters coming in 2026. So we're kind of being sandwiched in between the endings and the beginnings, thus the cha-cha-cha. So with that 9 vibration, the name of the game is embracing the change, being flexible, adaptable. And with some of the astrology coming at us that I'm going to cover here in a second, we are going to have to really lean into those things because our want, need, and desire to have power, to have control, to know all the information, have all the details, that is a place of ego. The higher self needs you to take a leap of faith, not knowing the answers, not knowing what's next, not knowing what is around the corner. And for many people, that is going to be a very serious challenge. So let's jump into it. Of course, I am going to welcome you to jump over to my Patreon on January 1st. I will be walking through the major astrology of 2025 and giving you a little bit of a workbook, a little bit of a guide, a little bit of an assist, if you will, on how to figure out where these energies are going to be taking place in your own personal life, in your own personal chart. So if you want to do a deep dive, I would definitely recommend that you jump over to my Patreon, either consider becoming a member and accessing all of my VIP content or pay per view. The other thing that I would also welcome you to do is I did do a 2025 just short mini reading for each of the zodiac signs on what this year is actually going to mean for each of the signs. If that's something that you're interested in, please jump over to my Patreon again, or it will be available per pay-per-view. So with all of that being said, let's just kind of remind ourselves that we're coming into a new year in a death, ending, and closure chapter. What does that mean? Well, first of all, January, although we've been kind of led to believe that it is the very first, the beginning point of a brand new year, that is a lie. The astrological calendar begins March 20th, when the sun enters into equinox energies, into that Aries energies, and the fire, the spark, the flame of life, again, begins, brings us back to life, brings us into a new chapter, and the forward motion that comes along with that. Essentially, we're coming into January under the influence of Capricorn season, and it's heavy, it's weighted. Saturn rules over Capricorn season. We started off with the solstice and those 3 days of darkness before the sun was reborn early on December 25th. Now, yes, Capricorn season is the manifesting sign of the zodiac. We do have the ability to get very futuristically focused on our goals, on our ambitions, what it is that we want to experience throughout the year to come, but we're not making any moves. This is a reflection of renewal, reanalyzing how to make those moves, but we are not in a time of action. So for those out there that have New Year's resolutions, congratulations, you're going to fail miserably because nothing can be born in a death type of energy. This is shadow work. This is releasing. This is eliminating. This is not starting something new. Now, January, it's going to feel like we're in a new energy. It's going to feel like we're in a new level of empowerment with an option, an opportunity to move on and move forward. But that is just a feeling, okay? Mars, who rules over our physical energy, drive, passion, desire, even our anger, Mars is retrograde, has been retrograde, and on the 6th is going to be retrograding back into Cancer energy. So there is more reflection, more reassessing what it is that needs to be done. And once we kind of kick back into that Cancer energy, this is going to slow our roll even more, reflect even more deeply, especially with our emotional needs, especially with our familial dynamics and connections, and what it is as far as boundaries go that we have to build in order to kind of stabilize in our physical realms and emotional realms, but mostly what we have to do to actually nurture ourselves, again, kind of heal those wounds, those voids that, again, have us kind of looking externally for somebody to do the work that we need to be doing within ourselves. This is going to be a high time for recalibration, if you will, and we have to address a lot of those unresolved issues, especially in the family dynamics, with a lot more empathy, a lot more compassion. January 11th, we're going to see the nodes of the moon shift into the Pisces and Virgo axis, which is going to be a big deal for everyone involved. Here's the thing. The last 2 years-ish, we've been on this Aries and Libran axis, pushing us out of codependent relationships, pushing us out of the want, need, and desire to sacrifice our own wants, needs, and desires to make other people happy, pushing us into that Aries energy, pushing us into independence, into solitude, into getting to know thyself so that we can heal thyself and rise up in our creator abilities. Well, now we're shifting into the Pisces and Virgo axis. And if you know anything about astrology, you would know that the Pisces energy is where endings and closures have to happen in order to prepare us to begin again. So the Pisces energy being this mutable water energy, flexibility, adaptability is going to be the name of the game. The water energy, very connected to karma, very connected to spirituality, very connected to empathy and compassion, very connected to visions and dreams, especially coming from our higher selves. We have to lean into the Pisces energy and lean out of the Virgo energy. What does this mean? It means that we have to have faith over intelligence. It means that we have to take leaps of faith in a path, in a direction that we don't have the information, the details of what is going to be waiting for us. The Virgo energy is all up in the headspace, needing to know every detail, needing to analyze all situations, all possibilities, all probabilities before taking any action. We have to move out of the highly critical, highly judgmental perspective that the Virgo energy lends us, especially when it comes to picking ourselves apart. We have to have the healing energies, the empathy and compassion of Pisces energy, to surrender by letting go of the want, need, and desire to know everything, to control everything, and to trust and have faith that you're exactly where it is that you need to be. So, of course, this is going to be a 18-month karmic chapter like no other that is going to have the collective kind of moving away from needing everything to be perfect and just being appreciative for what currently is in whatever state that it is. It's going to be a very intense year and a half of trying to get in alignment with our heart and our soul over our ego and our headspace. So, of course, it's going to impact all of us individually because we have Virgo and Pisces energy in different places in our chart. Again, please join me over on Patreon for that 2025 year ahead overview. But January, we shift into Aquarius energy, which is always pushing us into new levels of awareness, new levels of consciousness, looking back, piecing together why it is that certain things had to happen in order to land us in this particular position, in order for us to now see the possibilities of the future definitely become something more obtainable, more achievable. We have Uranus going direct at the end of January. That's going to be a jolt in the right direction in order for us to now start making the changes that we've been resisting and making, especially moving away from old people, places, and things. That Taurus energy, again, has had us very stuck holding on to the old that we're no longer in resonance with. The Uranian energy is pushing for change, pushing for progress, pushing for evolution, pushing for us to be aware of why it is that we're holding on to people, places, and things like a security blanket to a toddler, when realistically speaking, we're going to get made fun of if we take that blankie into this new chapter. Side note, we have Uranus wrapping up the final degrees of this Taurus energy, so there is going to be major disruptions, major destabilizations, not only in the energy realm, but to the physical realm as well. Moving into February, February is always kind of a shit show. Reason being is because we start to dive into the Pisces energy. Pisces season is where things get hella emotional, where the endings and closures are so overwhelming in our karma, in our emotional chapters, that sometimes we are just, a pile of mush, kind of grieving what once was, what could have been, and preparing ourselves now for what is and what could be. Now, one thing going for us in February is that we're gaining a little bit of momentum, meaning February 4th, we have Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings. He's been retrograde in this Gemini energy for like 5 months. He is going to go direct, meaning we have the ability to grow and expand on some old ideas, some old projects, some old information, some old learning chapters that now, because we have new insights about, a new observation point about, new consciousness about, we're going to be able to bring new life into old things, old ideas, old projects. Now, at the end of February, Mars is going to direct, which means that, and again, side note, it takes a little bit of time for Mars to get up to snuff, up to speed, but Mars in a direct position at least gives us some physical energy back, gives us a little bit more F's to give, gives us a little bit more passion and motivation and determination to see things through. But he is going to be going direct in the Cancer energy, which of course is not a whole lot of fun. This is when we're going to take action and make moves to rearrange and restructure what home actually means to us, who home actually houses in our inner realms, where boundaries are needed, where we have to take better care of ourselves, where we have to do some inner child work in order to put some fears, some doubts, some insecurities behind us. Now, March is a huge month for the collective and likely for us as individuals. It is the, I'm going to say, biggest month that we have in 2025 with major energy shifts taking place. When I say transformative, of course, that comes with endings and closures, that comes with initiating new chapters, new beginnings, and all of that is just scary to most people. We have eclipse season popping off. We have retrogrades popping off. We have the ending of the old calendar. We have the beginning of the new calendar. We have the first taste of what this Virgo and Pisces eclipse seasons are going to be about. We have Venus retrograding. We have Mercury retrograding. And side note, they're retrograding together. Okay, in Aries energy, which should be all that you need to know, there is an energy of aggression. We're tapping into the warrior type of spirit on so many different levels. And once we get going here and I start rattling off all of these things, you're going to realize that this, my friend, is a divinely scripted year. Let's just talk about coming into March. Venus is going to retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries energy, and that is a star point. When she retrogrades, she does this huge, beautiful star in her orbit over the course of her, let's call it 8-year chapter, which is building self-worth, building self-confidence, strengthening the feminine divine energies. And in the Aries energy, where there is this warrior type of energy, where there is this initiating energy, we're bold, we're brave, we're courageous to do the things that we have to do in order to break away from the old, break into the new. But a retrograde, no joke, especially Venus, going to take you back to, let's say, summertime of 2023 when she was retrograde in the Leo energy, the heart and soul of the zodiac that Mars is currently retrograding through, Cancer and Leo energy. We have Venus doing this retrograde to help us with this version of self, with this ego identity that is, again, very challenging for us to anchor in, to feel fully confident in actually operating. Now, keep that in mind, okay? Keep in mind, Venus retrogrades at 10 degrees in Aries. Just back burner that for just a sec. March 14th, full moon, lunar eclipse in Virgo energy at 23 degrees. So the full moon is a full illumination of what needs to end, what needs to be released. A lunar eclipse, a wild card energy, is going to remove something out of our lives. And the Virgo energy has to do with our day-to-day lives, with the planning, with the strategy, with being of work and service, with needing to know all the details, needing to know the plan, the strategy before we even try to make it. It's releasing perfection, releasing the want, need, and desire to control every damn thing. And that's going to be a very hard thing to do because, of course, we're on this healing axis where the Virgo energy needs to heal the ego and the mental plane, while the Pisces energy needs to heal emotions and our soul self. So we're in this eclipse gateway at this particular juncture. The day after, not only 24 hours after this full moon lunar eclipse pops off, we have Mercury, who rules over this eclipse energy because he rules over Virgo energy, retrograding at, surprise, surprise, 9 degrees in Aries energy. So interestingly enough, a couple years ago, we had Mercury and Mars retrograding together, which was a flipping of the script, a restructuring, a reframing, if you will, of the masculine energies that we are all kind of growing into, understanding where we have to assert ourselves out into the world in order to fulfill our own individual soul mission. Now Venus and Mercury are going to be traveling together, and this is going to be a tough love life lesson in the feminine divine energies that we all have within us, where it is that, again, we have to reframe, restructure, revisit how it is that we're presenting ourselves out into the world, how we're actually going after what it is that we want, need, and desire. It is going to be a very fun-filled, very aggressive type of energy that is going to lead us into the equinox. Aries season begins March 20th. On the 27th, Venus is going to retrograde back into Pisces energy, where endings and closures, where release, where elimination is needed, where we have to close that particular chapter up in order to, again, have a redo energy when she goes direct, when she re-enters into the Aries energy. Now, I'm not even joking here. On March 29th, we have the new moon solar eclipse taking place in what? Aries energy. This is the last hurrah of the Aries and Libran axis that we've been on for the last 18 months. So this is a new beginning. This is initiating something new, especially where the new version of self, where this new warrior self is concerned. And guess what? It's taking place at 9 degrees in Aries energy. That's Venus, Mercury, and now this new moon solar eclipse that adds something to our life, that gives us an opportunity to make some progress, all taking place within the first decan of this Aries energy. No joke, okay? On the same day, the 29th, Mercury's going to retrograde back into the Pisces energy. What do we have to let go of in our mental plane? What do we have to reframe and restructure? What do we have to revisit as far as old people, places, and things go to understand that we no longer have a connection to it? We have to resolve these issues. We have to clean up the mess in aisle 5. We have to bring a certain closure point before we're going to be gifted with moving on and moving forward. Okay, so you would think that that would be it, but you would be wrong. On March 30th, we have Neptune, okay, who rules over our dreams, our creativity, our spirituality, moving out of his rulership in Pisces energy that he's been in since 2011, and he is moving into Aries energy, okay? Aries energy is a brand new beginning, a brand new initiation chapter. You want to talk about what a spiritual warrior actually is, whoever is still standing at that particular juncture is going to be the leaders of the new earth. We are essentially revamping our goals, visions, and dreams for our personal selves, for our collective. And we have the boldness, the bravery, the courage, the fire from Aries energy to actually bring these goals, these visions to life. It is an initiating energy. We're not so good with initiating energy. And again, there is a lot of energy built up in March, but we're in a brand new calendar. So there is this, part of us that's moving on and moving forward. There's this other part of us due to the retrogrades and eclipse energies that are still very much having to deal with the past, having to resolve issues of the past in order to free us up to actually pursue the new. April. Okay. April, of course, is going to give us a little bit of a shitstorm as far as the breakdowns versus breakthroughs go. Okay, I'm putting April on, I'm going to say the good part of the scales, only because change is good. Transformation is good. Breakthroughs are good. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on the good. We have a beautiful sextile kind of kicking the month off between Saturn and Uranus. So there's going to be a jolt of change in the right path, in the right direction. There's going to be a destabilization, which of course doesn't feel good. That would be the breakdown energy, in order for the path to clear for the breakthrough energy. April 7th, we have Mercury going direct in Pisces energy. So now there's a forward movement with what needs to end, what needs to be kind of, wrapped up before we get a redo moving into the Aries energy. We have a full moon in Libra on the exact same day that Venus, who rules over that Libra energy, is going to go direct in Pisces energy. This is a karmic release of the relationship dynamics that we have been learning over the course of the last 18 months that we're no longer in alignment with. That full moon is going to fully illuminate the release of the people in our lives, those karmic connections that we've kind of completed, outgrown, in order for Venus, who rules over this Libra energy, in this Pisces energy, to not only full-heartedly accept this ending and closure, but divinely aligned with new people, new vibrations, new frequencies that are more our people than the old people could have ever been. So Mercury is going to re-enter the Aries energy mid-April. We have Jupiter and Pluto popping off, giving us the, let's call it, ability to see where it is that the challenges that we're facing are the challenges that are going to help our growth, our evolvement, even though it may be painful to make some of the changes that we have to make in order to set ourselves free. We have Mars re-entering into the Leo energy, the heart and soul of the zodiac, downloading us with that warrior type of spirit, with the boldness, the bravery, the courage that we need to do the hard things. This is going to be a little bit of a flashback to December of 2024 when Mars first entered into this Leo energy before he went retrograde. We've had a major change of heart. We've had a major download of new passions, new desires that we have to pursue for ourselves. And then we move into Taurus season, which of course is a fixed earth sign. So this is going to be a time for us to slow down, to stabilize, to actually realize what we've already accomplished thus far. And again, most of the accomplishments early 2025 are in our inner realm of emotions in our headspace, setting us up for May. Now, May is always a crazy, chaotic time. May always gives us a timeline jump opportunity. It gives us choice point opportunities, and a lot of that comes when we move into Gemini season, but we're not there yet. First of all, we come into May. Pluto, the great transformer, is going to retrograde. Now, luckily for us, he is never re-entering that Capricorn energy again. But also, let me be very clear, the remnants of the last 16 years of having Pluto be in that Capricorn energy, it's still very alive and well and probably will be until late 2026. The reason of that is because we're still within orb of that Capricorn energy. We need to get like 5+ degrees into this Aquarius energy before we can truly put the past, Pluto and Capricorn, behind us for good. Granted, when Pluto retrogrades, it's a time of inner death and destruction needed in order for the boss up energy to take over, for us to feel like we're in power and in control of our own damn selves and our realities. So Pluto kind of retrograding is going to kind of pull us back, which again, we have to go back to figure out how we even got here, back to see the old and what is still alive and well and where it is that we have to bring an ending and a closure to that before we can start the new. What we also have going on here is Saturn, the Lord of Karma, finishing up his 30-year cycle, and especially in this Pisces energy of dissolving the old world, dissolving the boundaries, dissolving the foundations, the structures, the old belief system, the fake gurus, the fake spirituality, the fake religions. All of that has been a highlight over the last couple of years because Saturn, the Lord of Karma, who rules over roles and responsibilities, systems, structures, foundations. We are moving into a new chapter. New Earth has the potentiality to be anchored and grounded in with Saturn and Neptune traveling together in this Aries energy, initiating a brand new chapter. Again, warrior spirit. On the collective stage, we're going to see a lot of tension, a lot of conflict. That's why you have to be right within yourself, in your headspace, in your heart space, because it doesn't matter the shitstorm that's going on in the exterior realm. As long as you have a peaceful paradise that you've created within yourself, you're going to be a-okay. Now, when we move into that Gemini season, we have Mercury moving into his rulership in Gemini season. He is moving into Gemini energy, and we're going to have a new moon taking place in this Gemini energy as well. So this is like a fresh, clean space in our headspace. We are seeing things clearly. We are seeing things differently. We are orienting to the most positive of outcomes. We are kind of eliminating the old belief system, the old ways of communicating, the old ways of just doing things. This is mind opening. And it's coming at a great time because at the end of May, we have Jupiter and Pluto kind of teaming up again, but this time it's a positive interaction. So there is going to be a major change, a major growth point in our physical realms. Yes, Pluto is retrograde, so the inner realm is kind of being bossed up in order for us to take action and make moves in our outer realm, which Jupiter is pushing us into growth, right? Tough love life lessons that help us grow. Challenges that are going to help show us our true strengths. It's going to be a magnification of understanding where it is that there's a major shift happening in our mental planes, first and foremost, because we are living a holographic projection of whatever our mental planes are focused on. This is going to be boss up energy. It's going to be beautiful. It is setting the tone for major changes coming at us in June. I'm going to say again, I'm putting June on the positive, the highs of 2025, but because of the changes, the transformations that most people kind of run away from, you could find it to be a very challenging time. June is going to highlight for us home and family dynamics because Jupiter will be moving into Cancer energy. And again, we are moving out of the mutable sign of Gemini, the headspace, if you will. We're moving into the cardinal water energy. So cardinal signs are a major time of change. It's when seasons change. It's when our lives change. It's when we change. Because it's Cancer energy, this is inner child work, it is familial structuring, it is generational trauma release, it is building a new foundation and structure of what home looks like, it is creating boundaries in order for us to stay in our own damn lane and not be pouring more into other people than we're pouring into ourselves. It's realizing where it is that we got to be taking better care of our damn selves. And we start the month of June with the beautiful sextile between Jupiter and Uranus. So again, fast forward, a lightning bolt of energy, promoting change, promoting growth. On the exact same day, which is June 9th, we have this sextile between Jupiter and Uranus because they're both at the final degrees of Gemini energy for Jupiter and Taurus energy for Uranus. And then Jupiter moves into Cancer energy. That is a major, major point. And then as soon as we move into that Cancer energy, Jupiter is going to square off with Neptune and Saturn. Why? Because they're at the beginning stages of Aries energy. Aries is a cardinal sign, just as Cancer is a cardinal sign. Squares highlight growing pains. We're moving in the right path. We're moving in the right direction. But man, does it ever hurt going through growing pains. Just think of when you were a kid and you had growing pains in your legs. You knew you were growing. You knew you were going to be taller. You knew you were going to be stronger. But man, it hurt and probably made you cry. Okay, so we have this square taking place with the structures, the foundations that we're trying to initiate. We have this square, this growing pain with the dreams, the visions, the intuitive insights that we are having that we're scared to actually pursue. And then we go into the summer solstice energy, which of course is the highest point of the sun's journey. It lands us into Cancer season, and Cancer season is always a new karmic chapter. We get a little bit of help, a little bit of relief at the end of June because Jupiter is going to make a positive interaction with Pluto, but this time Jupiter's in Cancer energy. There's a foundation, a structure of our home, of our emotions, of our needs for nourishment and nurturing that are going to be kind of amplified by the changes and transformations going on in our inner realm to boss us up. Again, Pluto being in the Aquarius energy, even though he's retrograde, we're thinking about the future. We're thinking about where it is that we want to end up. And then we're coming back into the present moment and realizing what we have the power and control over to change in this present moment to align us with the desired outcome of our future selves. So this is setting us up for July. I am going to say that July is going to be a tough month. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be a bad month. I'm saying it's going to be a tough and challenging month, okay? Reason being, July is when we start seeing all of these major heavy hitting planets retrograde and shift into their new energies. And that is never fun. This is the cha-cha-cha, right? So we've cha-cha-cha'd a couple steps forward. We were cha-cha-chaing into place. And now we're like, oh shit, not ready for this. I got to go back. I got to fix some things. I got to resolve some things. I need a second chance. I need a redo. I got to go back. Okay. So this is why I say it's going to be challenging. First of all, the beginning of July, we have Neptune retrograding in Aries. Okay, so when Neptune goes retrograde, the universe always bitch slaps the rose-colored glasses off of our face. We lose our connection to our higher selves. We lose our connections with our ability to dream about the future because we have to deal with life as it is. Okay. Not for the way we wished it would be. We're not, putting the skeletons back in the closet. We're not sweeping things under the rug. We have to pull that back and illuminate to us what it is that we've been running from, what it is that we've been hiding from. It's hard to be a spiritual warrior when you are crying. Okay. Nobody's going to take you seriously if you're out on the battlefield crying in a blubbering mess and then still trying to, invoke some kind of fear in your opposition. It doesn't work like that. So we have Neptune retrograding. July 7th, we have Uranus, the great awakener, moving into Gemini energy. This is the first time in like 100 and something years that we've had Uranus in Gemini energy. We have Uranus ruling over the highest form of our intellect, Gemini energy ruling over the lower form of our intellect, working together. So when I say to you that there's going to be a major revolution in our communication, in our information, how we receive it, how we give it, okay? I'm not trying to fearmonger here, but there's a high probability that our social media platforms are going to be disrupted in ways that we can never rectify. There is going to be an attempt from the evildoers to disconnect us from the connection in which we have all made through social media, through communications. There is going to be a revolution of sorts in the years to come, especially when all of the information and details, we are in the years, should I say, of disclosure. A lot of these things are going to evoke a lot of anger in the people, a lot of rebellion. That's what Uranus is all about. He's about rebelling against the constructs. He's about awakening to new levels of awareness and I'm going to say information and confirmation of that information to put us in a totally different mind space, that Gemini energy. So that is going to be a jolt to the collective. That's going to be a destabilizing force to our headspace, to our ability to connect and communicate with each other. And only a couple of days later, Saturn, the Lord of Karma, he's going to retrograde in Aries energy. So again, him and Neptune are kind of traveling together. They stepped into the Aries energy together, and then they're both like, whoa, okay, we're not ready for this. We got to backtrack a little minute. We got to go back. We got to reset. We got to realign, redefine what the mission actually is here because we're just not feeling well equipped or well prepared. And again, July is going to throw us into another Mercury retrograde. This time it's going to be in Leo energy. So this is about trying to get our heart and head on the same page, trying to get our mind focused into what our heart and soul, our karmic selves needs us to do, needs us to pursue. We're going to feel a huge disconnect between our heart and our head. And then Mercury's retrograde is going to amplify the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, preventing the alignment between our heart and our head coming online. And then by the time Mercury is done his retrograde, we're going to be this new perspective, this new heart space in alignment with one another, charging forward towards the path, the direction that is uncertain, that holds a lot of fear, that holds a lot of uncertainty, but we are warriors of the heart, we are warriors of the soul, and we're going to step forward and make some progress in a new path, in a new direction, because we know that it's the right thing to do. We move into Leo season, the heart and soul of the zodiac. It's always a peak time, a climactic time in all of our lives. Why? Because we got to get real and raw and vulnerable with ourselves, get down into that heart space, align with our authentic soul self, and figure out whether or not the path, the direction that we've been walking, whether that belongs to the ego or the soul, and to make those adjustments accordingly on the path, the direction that we want to be walking from here. Now, this sets us up for August. August, I'm going to say I am putting on both the high and the low side of the months of the year. Reason being, we come into August, we're always gifted with a choice point, with a new path, with a new direction. And again, our heart and our head are very divided. So our head would elude us to believe that we're going to follow the ego self. The heart space would elude that we're going to follow the soul self, but we're not quite sure as of yet. We come into the month, we're kind of torn between our heart and our head. We have Saturn and Uranus sextiling each other, and this is going to be an amazing energy. It is a growth point of sorts, but the Uranian energy now in Gemini is forward thinking, progressive thinking, destabilizing, revolting, rebelling against the old. Saturn is retrograde at this particular juncture in Aries energy. So we're moving inward to see like, okay, why did I fail? Like, why was I scared there? I know I'm better than this. I got to boss up. I got to kind of create a new structure of self-confidence, self-worth within myself. I have to have a new willpower, a new discipline in order to see this particular path through. So then what happens? Mercury goes direct. And that's going to help us out because, again, heart and head aligned. We have different focus, different goals, different mission, different purpose. We're actually feeling well prepared, very capable of actually achieving said goal. But then we move into Virgo season. And Virgo season, typically speaking, is very serious, very somber. We got to get our shit together. There's a high pressurized system that moves in to put us in a situation where we feel like we have to get organized. And that means that we've been sitting in emotional and mental disorganization, which doesn't feel good, craziness and chaos. The Virgo energy is going to attempt to put things back into order. The minute that we move into Virgo season, we have the new moon in Virgo popping off, and then we have Jupiter and Uranus coming together in a little bit of a tension-filled aspect that's going to illuminate for us where it is that we're not ready for this growth, where it is that we're not ready for these changes, where it is that we have to know all the answers, right? That's what that Virgo energy is. Again, South Node Virgo on this karmic scale that we're kind of learning the hard way for the next 18 months. We have to realize that we can't let our mental plane rule over us. We can't find ourselves needing all the answers, needing to know what is around the corner for us in order to actually take action and make moves. This is going to be a restructuring of our mental plane, a reanalyzation of the physical realm that we've created thus far in this particular calendar. And then at the end of August, we have Uranus and Neptune sextiling with each other. Beautiful energy. We have the heart and the head in alignment. We have this jolt of energy pushing to make progress, pushing to revolt back against the old. Neptune, again, is going to be retrograde. So we're dealing with the harshness of the reality that we no longer want to be living. We're eliminating things. We're releasing things. We're closing the door on old karmic connections, on old projects, on old paths and directions, on old karmic chapters. And we're building ourselves up at the same time. Now, this is setting the tone for September, which I'm putting on the high list, the good month, if you will, but it's coming through growth. It's coming through change. It's coming through opposition. It's coming through challenge. Reason being, September is probably, I'm going to say intense, but not as intense as March would be. Again, March was very much a clear line between endings and beginnings. September is intense in the ways like, okay, like we're already through the majority of the year here. We have a second chance. We get a do-over. Let's get our shit together. Let's do it better this time around. A lot of that is because September, we kick things off with Saturn creeping back, retrograding into the Pisces energy, okay? So obviously we have some more dissolving to do. Maybe we have foundations and structures that we have to get rid of. Maybe there's karmic connections that we have to get rid of. Maybe there is just remnants of the old version of self, that old, old ways of being, old ways of doing that we just have to eliminate. September 6th, Uranus is going to retrograde in the Gemini energy. So now we have to rethink everything. We have to revisit the ideas that we were excited about to see whether or not we're still excited about them. We have to understand that we're going to be thrown back into old situations where the old version of self and that old negative ass narrative is going to try to take power and control over us again. And we have to do the best that we can to kind of rise up, rewrite the brain, flip the script, if you will. And it's going to be a very challenging time in communication, in our headspace, understanding ourselves, let alone trying to understand other people. Early September, we move back into eclipse season. So this is a wild card energy. Remember that eclipse energies put you on the path that you failed to put yourself upon. And so again, we start off with the full moon, which is a full illumination of the endings and releasing that is needed. It's a lunar eclipse, which removes things out of our lives. And it's taking place on Pisces. It's taking place on Pisces. This is the karmic endings, the connections, the residual energy of the old world that the old version of self had built and created that's still alive and well, either in our headspace, in our heart space, or in our physical form, that we have to eliminate, that we have to resolve, that we have to put behind us in so many different ways. And here's the thing, we're building, okay, we're in this eclipse energy. We're building in this eclipse energy to the new moon solar eclipse that will be taking place at 29 degrees in Virgo energy. 29 degrees is the critical crisis karmic degree of any sign. It's a mastery degree. And the Virgo energy, again, we're trying to end and close the perfectionism, end and close being of work and service to other people when we should be of work and service to ourselves. We're trying to wrap up and put an ending to the critical, judgmental ways of perceiving life, of perceiving ourselves. We're putting an ending and a closure to that old negative ass narrative. But here's the thing. Not only do we have this eclipse energy pressurizing us, but it happens on the equinox. The fall equinox, when we move into Libra season, when partnerships, karmic partnerships, need to be removed and resolved in order for us to find new karmic people that's going to help encourage and support our growth, our evolvement. And as if that wasn't enough, we have Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, drive, passion, desire, even our anger, taking up his rulership in Scorpio energy. You know what happens when Mars is in Scorpio energy? Shadow work. You want to know what shadow work is? It's dealing with the dark parts, the old parts, the remnants of the part of self that is still alive and well, preventing us from truly emerging ourselves in this new path, in this new direction, and rising up as the spiritual warrior that we were destined to be. Major change and transformations go on in Scorpio energy, and under that 29th critical crisis degree of a new moon solar eclipse that is presenting us with an option and opportunity to initiate a new path, a new direction, a new way of thinking, of being, of kind of showing up in the world. With that equinox energy that's locking in a new karmic chapter, we are definitely going to be in for it in the month of September. Now, interestingly enough, setting the scene for October, I am saying October is kind of split down the middle. Okay, because here's the thing, there are good parts, but there are some not good parts as well. Let me also remind you, this is going to be the first October in close to 3 years that we will not be having eclipse season in, because now eclipse season is going to be taking place on the Virgo and Pisces axis. We were used to the Aries and Libran axis, which would have landed us not only in October, not only with that equinox, but with Halloween, which of course is where we do the greatest amount of shadow work. So lucky for us, we have a new vibe, a new energy in October taking over. But the whole goal is change, transformation, and closure. First of all, we have Mercury moving into Scorpio energy on the same day as we have the full moon in Aries energy. And again, this is the first time in like 2-ish years that we're having a full moon in Aries, that we're having a new moon in Libra that aren't eclipse events. There is no, I'm not going to say there's not a karmic lesson involved, because there's always karma involved. However, this isn't an eclipse. This isn't wild card energies. This isn't going to be as detrimental to relationship dynamics and our own individual selves as it has been over the last 18 months. So Mercury in Scorpio is going to blend our intuition with our intellect in order for a major change and transformation of the mental plane to actually take place. The full moon is going to fully illuminate the parts of self in Aries energy, because that's our ego identity, that we have to remove, that we have to release, that we have to let go of in order for us to have a, I'm going to say, successful redo of some of the energies that I'm about to talk about right now. Pluto is going to go direct in Aquarius energy October 13th. So when Pluto goes direct, we're going to be able to boss up. We're going to be able to make the changes and the transformations in our plans, in our heart space, in our head space. Again, that Aquarius energy is very futuristically focused. It is focused on what we can improve, what we can make some progress in, what we could do better in now that we actually know better. And then towards the end of October, Neptune is going to retrograde back into his rulership in Pisces energy, because again, Neptune and Saturn are kind of, walking hand in hand, trying to end said chapters in order to begin new chapters. And it happens on the exact same day that we enter into Scorpio season. Why is that important, you may ask? Well, it's because water on water helps to cleanse the junk, the gunk away, helps us to refresh, renew our soul and our spirit, realigns us with our intuition, reminds us of the goal, vision, and dream that we were once excited about, and then highlights the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, because Scorpio season is all about shadow work, in order for us to remove that part of that old version of self so that we're not self-sabotaging. We're not screwing things up for our own damn selves, that we're eliminating the weight of that emotionally and mentally and probably spiritually and physically that we've been carrying throughout the year that we have no business carrying any longer. And that, my friends, is going to set us up for a very challenging November. Okay. So the reason why November is challenging, first of all, we're in Scorpio season. Scorpio season is challenging to everyone, even, Scorpios. It is about the death, the destruction of the old in order for that renewal energy, that resurrection energy to actually lead the way into the spiritual transformation that needs to take place first and foremost within us before we're going to see the change, the transformation in the external realm. But November feels like we're being sucked backwards. It feels like we are cha-cha-chaing so far in reverse that we forget that we're actually cha-cha-chaing at all. We are getting pulled into a deep reflective energy. And a lot of the reason of this is because, okay, let me spit the dates at you and then I'll kind of, summarize. November 7th. Uranus is going to retrograde back into the Taurus energy that we've been sitting in since 2018. Okay. So Uranus being retrograde, first of all, destabilizes whatever area of life he's kind of, retrograding in. Taurus energy is our physical realms. Okay. It's what we've been trying to break away from. When he's retrograde in Taurus energy, it's highlighting where it is that we're resisting letting go of the people, places, and things that we know damn well we can't take with us in this new karmic chapter. That's going to be a drawback. That's going to be pulling us back into the past. November 19th, we have Mercury retrograding. Mercury is going to be retrograding first in, I'm going to say, Sagittarius energy, which coincidentally enough, we've been retrograding in for the last 3 years-ish. And eventually we'll be retrograding back into the Scorpio energy. So it's almost as if Mercury, in the Sag energy, sees a new truth, sees a new purpose, sees a new mission, sees a new meaning. And then we're like, oh shit, we're not feeling optimistic and confident enough to actually have the mental focus or determination to actually see this particular path through. We retrograde, we unpack, we revisit the past, we dip back into the Scorpio energy where shadow work is going to illuminate the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that we're currently having about moving on and moving forward into this new path, into this new quest, if you will. And again, we have a chance to blend our intuition with our intellect to gain bigger, broader perspective and insight of why this tug of war is happening in our mental plane. May I also just say that Jupiter will be retrograding as well in Cancer energy, which we've never done before, right? We haven't done it. And so when Jupiter retrogrades, there's this inner growth that needs to happen. There's this inner discipline that needs to happen. It's kind of looking back, reframing how it is that we've gotten here, especially with the tough love life lessons and in Cancer energy in the parameters of our familial dynamics, right? What home and family actually means to us, who we actually value as family members. It's dealing with inner childhood trauma. It's dealing with generational trauma. It's dealing with the restructuring of what our home and family dynamic actually looks like. So that's pulling us back into the past. And then towards the end of November, Saturn is going to direct, which sounds really good because it's a forward motion, but we're still in Pisces energy. So I want you to just understand that let's call it the last half of 2024, where Saturn was in those final degrees of Pisces energy, there's going to be a flashback to that. And November 29th, Mercury is going to direct in Scorpio energy, which everybody just absolutely hate because it means that we have to kind of make the changes, the transformations, the death, the endings, the closures to our mental plane, to our perspectives, to old ways of doing things in order for us to rise up, in order for us to boss up, to be empowered. Now, that is a very difficult month. Is it as difficult as March? Absolutely not. Is it as difficult as September? Absolutely not, because we had a lot of new energies there showing us the light at the end of the tunnel. November, though, is more so throwing us back so far in the past that we forget what that light of the tunnel even looked like. And so there is this like reflection and revisiting and restructuring and, all of these realignments that are needed in order for us to gain clarity on what that light at the end of the tunnel actually looked like a couple of months ago and what it looks like to us now. This is setting us up for December, and I'm putting December on the good side of the list only because this is where we create the endings and closure. This is when it actually materializes. This is where all of the inner realm back and forth and up and down and cha-cha-cha gets manifest in the physical realm, especially as we approach the solstice energy, right? Because that solstice energy is that ending and closure. We do have Neptune going direct December 10th, which is a forward motion. We get to put those rose-colored glasses on. We get to align with our intuition again. We get to download new visions, new insights on what we want to do, what we want to pursue, what we want to achieve. There is this forward motion of, seeing the silver lining, seeing the magic, seeing the purpose of all of the challenges that we just went through. It is coming to a certain term of acceptance. And again, going to be a major flashback to the ending part of 2024, the beginning part of 2025, because we're revisiting, retracing our steps through those final degrees of the Pisces energy. The solstice in 2025 is going to be the major releasing point. Okay. So yes, we move into the solstice. Yes, there's 3 days of darkness. Yes, we're in a funk. Yes, there is a karmic cleansing that feels very heavy, very weighted. But when I say to you that we are putting the last, I'm going to say 9 years, 18 years, 27 years behind us, and technically there's longer cycles that I'm not going to get into, we are bringing all of that full system closure. Why? Because 2026 is a vibration of 1. And the vibration of 1 is new version of self. It's initiating a new path. It is that new goal, vision, and dream. It is this new path and direction that we are getting prepped and prepared for in 2025. So a lot of this energy is karmic in nature. It is mental in nature. It is emotional in nature that we have to bring full circle, that we have to find a certain term of acceptance in, that we have to find peace in, we have to find contentment in, to wholeheartedly release that energy to the universe because it is no longer serving us. It is no longer going to block us either. We are moving into 2026 with a fresh, clean space, clean slate in our head space, in our heart space, in our physical realms. And so I deem December as a pivot point where we aren't feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders, as typically speaking, we're probably going to feel throughout the course of 2025. There's this releasing energy. There's this renewal of hope and faith and trust, not only within ourselves, but in the greater, grander plan. And as we do this releasing, as we feel lighter, as we feel more confident and positive to have a proper redo, we are going to move into 2026, have all of these major heavy hitting planets re-enter into their new energy. So I'll just give you a rundown. Saturn and Neptune will be re-entering into the Aries energy. We will be stronger. We will be more focused. We will be able to do things right in a much better way. We have Uranus going to be re-entering into the Gemini energy. We have Jupiter who's going to be going direct, rebuilding, restructuring the home and the family dynamic. Yes, we're still going to be on the nodes of the moon between the Pisces and Virgo axis. Yes, Pluto is still going to be in this Aquarius energy, but we're going to have more momentum in 2026, pushing for that fresh, clean slate, pushing for those new beginnings, pushing for that new path and that new direction. So guys, that is your 2025 energy overview. Again, I hope you were taking notes. There's definitely some high points. There's definitely some low points. And there's going to be a lot of in-between points where we feel very pulled into two different paths, two different directions, and two different versions of self. However, we are being prepped and prepared for these new versions of self to be so grounded, so anchored in that we are not going to lose sight of the vision, the goal, the dream that we are being downloaded with towards the end of 2025, because that is the momentum, that is the energy, that is the fuel that is going to back us in making these changes and transformations in 2026. So if you're interested in doing a deep dive in some of these energy shifts, where they're taking place in your chart, how it's going to impact your life, what the topics and themes of 2025 are going to be specifically for you, again, I'm going to encourage you to jump over to take part in that 2025 overview that I am holding on my Patreon on January 1st. If nothing else, I send you all the love. I need you to trust and believe that you are exactly where it is that you need to be in life, in your karmic chapters, and that you are never given anything that you cannot handle. It's time for us to boss up, time for us to be the example to the rest of the world that we need everybody to get in alignment with in order to bring New Earth into fruition. So of course, I thank you for tuning in. I send you so much love, and I hope you have the absolute best 2025 possible to you.